Hello, welcome to the By Flames RPR podcast. My name is By Flames RPR and I'm your podcast host. On today's episode of the show, we are going to be discussing a very controversial event which happened at the ongoing 2024 Olympics sports event. It will be very important if we pay much attention to this discussion as we eke out the facts and learn. Our topic is discussing transgender acceptance in the society. For this to have ended up on this place, you have to understand how controversial and hot it is. I would first share with you the cause of today's episode of the podcast, as in the event, or should I say the inspiration behind today's episode of the podcast. Okay, this is a report made available to the public by the New York Times. I read first the headline: Italian boxer quits bout, sparking furor over gender at Olympics. Now, just a snippet of the news. An Italian boxer, Angela Carini, forfeited her bout at the Olympics after only 46 seconds on Thursday, refusing to continue to fight Imane Khelif, an Algerian opponent who had been barred from a women's event last year. Before we start discussing this topic in quite a manner, I would like us to cite and define some words as the discussion progresses. First is gender. Gender, as I researched earlier has polysemous meanings. That is to say that the word gender in quotes has many meanings, but I picked the meaning related to our discussion. Gender is defined as sex, a category such as male or female, into which sexually reproducing organisms are divided on the basis of their reproductive roles in their species. Another definition I have here is this: identification as a man, a woman, or something else, and association with social role, social in parentheses, role or set of behavioral and cultural traits, clothing, etc. as etc. A category to which a person belongs on this basis. So, in as much as these definitions give us an insight and deeper understanding of what gender is, we know that if this is simply brought down to layman terms, it simply means, are you a man or a woman? It simply means, are you male or female? Simple. Most of us can attest to the fact that we have held a paper or visual form that asks us of our individual sex identification, and we individually had to answer that question, whether we are male or female. Prior to the fact that I am still looking for the right word to use here now. Okay, prior to the fact that there is now the existence of some man-made and society controversial gender categories that even has a couple backup laws rooting from international organizations, but somehow accepted in some countries of the world and jettisoned in some others. It would be very important to also define a word pertinent to the topic. Transgender is the word. What is transgender? Transgender simply means having a gender, in parenthesis identity, which is different from the sex one has assigned at birth. One was assigned at birth. I beg your pardon. And another definition for this term is not identifying with culturally conventional gender roles and categories of male or female, having changed gender identity from male to female or female to male, or identifying with elements of both, or having some other gender identity. To the best of my knowledge, I know that gender plays a very significant role in our different societies and cultures. The case is not different even in sports. We must have heard the term women's division and also men's division. People from the men's division don't go to compete in the women's division. The only place I have seen such is in some of these sports entertainment shows. I think there are rules expected to be followed by each superstar during a match. Anyways, that's by the way. On the case of our episode inspiration, as I would call it, Imane Khelif, to which report says that she has once been disqualified from last year's World Championships over questions about her eligibility to compete in women's sports, won a match against Angela Carini, the Italian boxer, after she abandoned her bout after 46 seconds. Within the stated time, the Italian boxer took a heavy punch which was said to hit her squarely on the face. She walked to the corner and her coaches signaled that she wouldn't continue the fight. Khelif, spelled Khelif, the 25-year-old Algerian boxer, was barred by the International Boxing Association, which runs the championships. The known reason, or rather reasons, they gave for the disqualification is that the said athlete did not undergo a testosterone examination, but was subject to a separate and recognized test. In quotes. Now, you and I don't know what these separate and recognized test results were all about because it's confidential. So, in other words, their competitors are competing against what happens to be of the unknown. Since it's confidential, we don't know what it's all about. The competitors too don't know what it's all about. Report says the separate and recognized test results that Khelif did not meet stated that Khelif did not meet the required eligibility criteria and was found to have competitive advantages over other female competitors. You can read or either download the full reports on this via the New York Times website. So what I am trying to make us understand is that in as much as there is this saying which states that what a woman can do, a woman can do also, there is some level of fallacy to it, but I will leave that to be explored on a more auspicious day. Now, on the subject matter, some people who maybe have decided to switch their gender from whatever assigned to them at birth find it difficult to be accepted in the society. It's a very queer thing for me when you know someone as a man and tomorrow you see him as a woman. It's also the same case vice versa. I don't think this is just all about the legal paradigm that abhors discrimination and promotes the acceptance of the LGBTQ plus community, to which is jettisoned in many countries. I think this is very much more of logic and reasoning. I think this is very much more of logic, reasoning and science, particularly biology. Angela Carini, the Italian boxer, was born female, but was Imane Khelif, the Algerian boxer, born female. Khelif grew up in Souaga, Tiaret province in northwestern Algeria. In an interview with Reuters, her father stated Imane is a little girl that has loved sports since she was 6 years old. I think that answers the question about what gender she was originally born of. Her having of a high level of testosterone is one only biology and medical science can explain, but for the sake of the discussion, I would be bringing some facts about the testosterone matter. Testosterone is a steroid hormone that stimulates development of male secondary sexual characteristics produced mainly in the testes but also in the ovaries and adrenal cortex. Biology makes us understand that the XY sex determination system is a sex determination system used to classify many mammals, including humans, some insects, some snakes, fish, and plants. In this system, the sex of an individual usually is determined by a pair of sex chromosomes. Typically, females have two of the same kind of sex chromosome, XX, and are called the homogametic sex. Males typically have two different kind of sex chromosomes, XY, and are called the heterogametic sex. In humans, the presence of the Y chromosome is responsible for triggering male development. In the absence of the Y chromosome, the fetus will undergo female development. There are various exceptions, such as individuals with Klinefelter syndrome. These are people who have XXY chromosomes, Swyer syndrome, females with XY chromosomes, and XX male syndrome, the La Chapelle syndrome, males with XX chromosomes. However, these exceptions are rare. In some instances, a seemingly normal female with a vagina, cervix, and ovaries has XY chromosomes, but the SRY gene has been shut down. In most species with XY chromosome determination, an organism must have at least one X chromosome in order to survive. So let's look at it again from a sex determination system. A sex determination system is a biological system that determines the development of sexual characteristics in an organism. Most organisms that create their offsprings using sexual reproduction have two common sexes and a few common intersex variation. In some species, there are hermaphrodites. There are some species in which only one sex is present temporarily or permanently due to parthenogenesis, the act of a female reproducing without fertilization. In some species, sex determination is genetic. Males and females have different alleles and even different genes that specify their sexual morphology. In animals, this is often accompanied by chromosomal differences, generally through combination of XY, ZY, XO, ZO chromosomes or I can't pronounce this, but I suggest you go on Wikipedia and read on sex determination system. Now, one of the reasons why I quit the dream to become a medical doctor, nephrologist, or surgeon was because of science subjects and the phobia for mathematics. The confusion those subjects puts me into is a situation I really don't like. I wouldn't love to tangle you with anatomical, biology, medical science jargons, so I don't confuse you the more. But I suggest you consult a certified medical doctor for an in-depth and maybe down-to-earth explanation that resonates with your understanding. Still on the topic, but away from our, what's that phrase I used for it before? I'm trying hard now to understand. I'm trying hard now to remember. Our episode's inspiration. Now I remember. Transgender individuals find it hard to be accepted in the society due to a couple of reasons, of which to mention a few are social stigma and stereotypes, internalized transphobia, fear of the unknown, and cultural and religious beliefs. Among a couple of factors and things that governs how a society reacts to things and issues like this, religion and culture play a very important role in shaping people's thoughts towards people with transgender identities. Some cultural and religious beliefs may have strict gender rules or beliefs with that conflicts with transgender identities, therefore leading to what's termed discrimination. To address these challenges, what seems to be essential is to educate yourself and others about transgender issues, use inclusive language and respect people's pronouns, support and advocate for transgender rights, create safe spaces for transgender individuals, encourage open and respectful individuals. But do you think applying those points would, change the way religion and culture has shaped our minds on how to look and address transgender individuals? It may sound rhetoric, but I don't think it is. It totally is. There is an angle we have not discussed about on this topic: identity crisis. An identity crisis is a state of confusion, uncertainty, and questioning about one's own identity, sense of self, or place in the world. The German American psychologist and psychoanalyst Erikson explains, or rather defines, identity crisis as a critical phase in psychosocial development that occurs during adolescence, around 12 to 18 years old. Parenthesis. In the part of trying to establish a connection between identity crisis as one of the reasons some people become transgender individuals, I found out that identity crisis can be a factor that contributes to some individuals questioning their gender identity, which may lead to transgender identity. But it's essential to note that not all transgender individuals experience an identity crisis. Identity crisis is not unique to transgender individuals. Many people experience it without questioning their gender. Gender identity is complex and influenced by various factors including biology, environment, and culture. One thing I can say is that I have seen men whom have female voices. Their physique is also shaped like that of a female. And I have also seen females with male voices and physique, but I haven't seen one who maybe walked into a lab and ordered an organ switch, or maybe started dressing like the opposite sex to maybe reaffirm the gender to which he or she considers to be authentic. I am personally going to find it hard that identity crisis is not a cause of someone being transgender, although it can be a catalyst for self-reflection, leading to a deeper understanding of gender identity. Topic as this requires an essential approach of sensitivity, respect, and an open mind. I pray we get to understand this more one day. That's the size of our episode today. The Piflemis RPR podcast can be listened to on different platforms, including Spotify for podcasters and Spotify. Just Google the Piflemis RPR podcast. I take it up from there. Till next time we meet, thanks for listening.